Hello YouTube, this is Scott and welcome to Opinions No One Cares About, the video series where I say things and you listen to them because that's how videos work. So, a little while back, someone asked a question on Twitter about scary children's movies, which actually resulted in two of them trending for a brief while. The first was adapted from a Roald Dahl book, and it was called The Witches. You know, that classic story of boy learns about witches, boy goes on vacation and runs into a hive of witches, boy gets turned into a mouse by said witches, and hilarity ensues. We've all been there, right? Right? And the second one was the 1968 beloved classic, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Now, most people who chose the latter cited the character known as the child catcher for obvious reasons. I mean, he's called the freaking child catcher. But when I looked at it, it reminded me of Cracked.com. Now, I don't know if you remember Cracked. It used to be a magazine. You could find it on newsstands and in grocery stores next to Mad Magazine, except I don't think it was ever as popular. But a little while back, they made the leap from magazine to website. They do opinion pieces, articles, photo contests, and the like. And they also have a forum where you can discuss their articles or submit an idea for an article of your own, because they seem really eager to have people write for them. My previous video was a submission to them for an article so far back in the day that you can't even find it on the forum anymore. I know, I've tried. But I also submitted an idea about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which also you can no longer find. Since I didn't get anywhere with that submission, I'm making this video. And if you guys want to pause for like a couple of hours and go watch the movie to refresh your memories on it, that would make sense, considering my idea of topical is apparently talking about a 50-year-old movie. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Originally a book written by Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond. And as it happens, I could probably make an entire other video based on all the connections between Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and James Bond. And there are a lot more than you would think, but let's just go from here. So, Roald Dahl co-wrote the screenplay along with Ken Hughes, who also directed the movie, with some additional dialogue by a man named Richard Mabon. And given the fact that Dahl is billed first as a writer, I think it's safe to say that he was the one who created the 5 characters who, in my opinion, make this movie just so messed up. First off, we have number 5, Grandpa Potts. Ex-British Army soldier and devoted grandfather, which is apparently the extent of his character since he's never given an actual name. He takes care of the kids while his son's working on his crazy inventions. He gets mistaken for his son and kidnapped at one point, and there's something else. What was it? Oh yeah, he might be insane! See, another aspect of Grandpa Potts' character are his little, let's call them vacations. He gets all dressed up to go off to a foreign country and instead goes off to his little hut. This little hut, to be exact. Look at this thing. It's the size of an outhouse at best. And the inside? There's clearly no room in there and nothing to sit on. So, given that it's obviously not a TARDIS and bigger on the inside, there are only 2 options. 1, he stands in there for who knows how long, fantasizing about traveling to other countries. 2, he sits in there for who knows how long, fantasizing about traveling off to other countries. And let's not forget, at one point in this movie, he dresses to go to Alaska, to go sit in this very small hut in the middle of what looks like a very warm English summer. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere there's a deleted scene where Grandpa's talking about how, well, he doesn't need his fancy brain medication, while the rest of the family exchanges worried glances. I mean, wouldn't you? Number 4 on the list is Baroness Bomburst, who is allowed to dress like this in a children's movie. What do we know about the Baroness? We know she's a Baroness. We know she hates children. We know almost nothing else, besides the fact that she dresses nice and has an unrequited love for her husband that we'll get to later. But primarily, she hates children. There's literally no explanation for it in the movie. An unexplained evil is always a problem. A lack of character motivation is what dooms the Baroness. And her apparent misunderstanding that a country needs children, you know, so they can grow up, become adults, have more children, keep the population going. Any of this ringing a bell there, m'lady? Number 3, Baron Bomburst. Bomburst, the bumbling, bungling, bombastic baron of this backwater Bavarian burg, is odd for a couple of reasons. 1, he's a baron who has a crown, and a scepter, and that ball thing that looks like the holy hand grenade of Antioch. He might be calling himself a baron, but clearly he wants to be a king, and I really don't see what's stopping him. 2, apart from a floating car, the only thing this guy wants more in the world is to murder his wife. And here's where we have that lack of explanation thing again. In the course of this movie, the Baron tries to murder his wife no less than 5 times. And 4 of them come during a duet with her where they're singing about how much they love each other. Now you get this one scene earlier in the movie where they attempt to make Chitty fly, and the Baroness gets catapulted into the air, and as she's floating down thanks to her huge dress, the Baron pulls out a shotgun and attempts to shoot her out of the sky, while he's muttering, "I've been wanting to do this for 20 years. Why have you wanted to murder your wife for 20 years? Judging by their age difference, and the fact that Anna Quayle was in her 30s when this movie was made, it's pretty likely that the Baron married a teenager. What could she have done? They seem to have a shared dislike of children since they passed a law banning them, but he married her when she practically was one. Is their marriage an alliance of some kind? Maybe. And it's possible the Baron resents her for that, but it's never explained. And moviegoers need backstory and exposition. Otherwise, you get smart-ass YouTubers making videos that point out other flaws and... Whoa. Meta. Number 2, the child catcher. Yeah, we knew I was going to talk about this guy. This love child of Severus Snape and Cyrano de Bergerac works in one of the more questionable professions of all time, despite fulfilling his obvious destiny of dominating the adult film industry's face-sitting genre. He captures children before he turns them over to the Baron and Baroness. And when he can't sniff them out, yeah, that. When he can't find the Potts children, the child catcher dresses up in brightly colored clothes and lures them out of their hiding place with candy and treats. Fast forward this guy to the present, and that horse-drawn cage of his is an unmarked white van. If Vulgaria had a sex offender registry, he'd be the top 5 names on the list. And you know what? No, he's still not the worst character in this movie. So you might be asking yourself, who is? No, not her. No, not him. Okay, are you kidding? Those 2? They were basically cartoon characters. No, the honor of being number 1 on the list of most disturbing characters in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang goes to Caractacus Potts. Now, I can hear some of you saying, huh? So let me explain. You might be wondering, what could possibly be so bad about him? Is it the fact that he's the son of a British father, and the father of 2 British children who has no British accent? Is it the fact that he kind of neglects his children, letting them run around and play in the streets and skip school, or leaving them in the care of their crazy grandfather while he's off working on inventions that don't really work? Is it the Ascots? No. It's actually much, much worse than that. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is a great movie, and one of the things it does really well is suspend disbelief, which is why by the time you get to the end, you forget that the whole Vulgaria storyline was just a story Caractacus Potts was telling, which means that 3 of the characters that I already listed, the inexplicable child hater, the matricidal man-child, and the borderline pedophile, are all figments of this guy's imagination. And don't forget, Potts was making this story up off the top of his head. His daughter asked him to tell a story about pirates. His son saw a boat, and his immediate response was, "Once upon a time, a crazy wife killer kidnapped your grandfather. Then, a woman who hates children hired a near sex offender to capture you 2. His idea for an entertaining tale for his children is one where everyone he's close to in his life is taken away." And personally, I think it gets even worse than that. Did you know that in the book, the kid's mother is still alive, and the entire family have all kinds of adventures in their magical car? But when it's adapted into a movie, it's never made clear what happens to her. And to me, it just seems weird that the main character of this movie, who has 2 children to take care of and a dead wife, comes up with a story on the spot where his entire family is kidnapped by people who hate children and want to murder their wife. maybe it's a subconscious thing, I don't know, but the entire second half of the movie seems like Caractacus Potts' wish fulfillment. Get my family out of here, ignore those loose floorboards in my workshop, and leave me with my inventions and this truly scrumptious blonde. And yeah, I did that on purpose. Alright, so that's another episode in the can. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, even if you didn't like it, click like, click dislike, share it around, please subscribe. Absolutely comment, let me know what you think, let me know if you have any ideas. And I guess we'll see you next time. This has been Opinions No One Cares About. Everyone has opinions, and this one was mine.